Hi everyone and welcome to Miss Estruch Biology and my new feature, The Life Of. And today I'm so excited that we're going to be starting off with Lina, the student paramedic. And I can see lots of you already joining. Hello, hope you're having a good evening. I've got a series of questions I'm going to be asking her, but there will be a chance to ask her in at the end. And here she is. Hello, how are you doing, Lina?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. How's your day been?
Not too bad. Finally got a rest, so that's good.
Oh, amazing. And just seeing how many people we've got. I've actually got quite a few have joined already. So I think we'll actually jump straight into it then. So the first load of questions are the ones I've actually picked. And then at the end, I've got some that have been submitted on Instagram, and we'll see if anyone adds any as we go through. First of all, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I know I saw that you said you don't normally do live, so we are very privileged to have you here with us answering your questions, and I'm sure everyone who's watching is going to find this so helpful and informative, so thank you so much. So first of all, thinking about school, what A levels did you take and what grade did you get in each of them?
So I did A-level biology, psychology, and I did a subsidiary diploma in health and social care. In biology, I got a D, so it's not great, but it's a pass. And that's one of the subjects that I really struggle with. I got a B in psychology, and I got a distinction star in health and social care. And I should say as well, partway through, if you're drilling or banging or anything like that, we got construction in the house. So.
No worries, we can still hear you, so that's fine. And what university course is it that you're actually doing then?
It's a bachelor's degree in paramedic science.
That's amazing. I wasn't really that familiar with that course. How did you come to find out about it?
To be fair, I was like that as well because I never knew like a course like that existed before. So from like secondary school to college, I had the mindset of, oh, I want to be a nurse, because obviously that's a very common sort of role that you come across. And
Yeah.
then my second year of college, I was doing some research and stuff into like different roles and stuff like that. And I obviously came across like the documentaries that are like inside the ambulance and stuff like that. And then I was wondering, oh, I wonder how you get onto these courses. So then when I searched it up, I found out that you could actually do it through the uni route. And that's when I applied for the degree.
Oh, amazing. And do you know what? My mum is obsessed with those shows as well. When I stayed with them last summer, it was always those different ambulance shows. So with your biology A level, what was the favourite thing about biology A level for you?
My favorite thing I'd say is like the human biology aspect of it. So I didn't really enjoy like the whole plants and like the animals bit because I don't know what it is about it, but I find that really confusing. But the whole human biology bit, like with the cells and how the different organs and stuff work, I find that really interesting. And obviously in the course as well, we do like anatomy and physiology. So
Yeah.
that really helped in that aspect of the course.
Awesome. And I think that's so common actually that people prefer the human side.
Yeah.
I guess it's just more relatable, isn't it? Because it's about you, it's what you're familiar with, and you want to find out more, so it makes sense. What kind of student were you at school then? What were you like?
I was like a very like shy sort of student, so I never used to like communicate with like I never used to have like like those big sort of friendship groups. So I had like maybe one or two friends or something like that, and I was very like didn't contribute in class unless obviously I was picked on.
Yeah.
Or like I'm doing my work and someone would just ask me a question and that's when I would speak. I was very sort of in my bubble, if that makes sense. And then as I progressed through to university, then I sort of started to come out and speak a lot more. And I'm a lot more confident now than I was before. And yeah, like when I went to my old school yesterday, when I went to my old school yesterday, even my old teachers are like, you seem a lot more sort of like lively now, and like you can talk a lot more now compared to before, because I never used to talk before.
What do you think changed then? Was it
uh,
just being at uni or just being older?
I think it's a bit of both, because I think as I got older, then I started to sort of like interact a lot more and understand conversations and stuff like that. And then with the course as well, so like on placement and stuff, there's a lot of like the talking aspect with patients. And at the beginning, I used to struggle to even talk to my colleagues, let alone the patients. But then with my mentor, he basically like threw me into the deep end, and he had me like attend the cases and stuff, and get like basic history taking and stuff like that. And I think that sort of contributed to like the whole build up in confidence and actually being able to speak out now.
That's amazing, and that's so good for the viewers to be able to know that if they are someone that's also quite shy and doesn't like talking much in lessons, to know that you've had this big change just from fitting into a career that feels really natural to you, and like you said, throw yourself in at the deep end, and then it didn't actually seem as scary. So that's so good for them to be able to hear that as well. So with your course, did you manage to do any work experience beforehand, or did you need to do any work experience to get onto your course?
I think they do look for some form of work experience, but that doesn't have to be only in healthcare. So that can be like sales assistant or something like that, where you can develop skills. So like communication skills, team working skills, and then sort of adapt it to the course. So with myself, I did a 2-week work experience with a nursery. I didn't really enjoy that as much. It had like a bit of an office aspect, and then it had like obviously the little children. I love the children, they're really sweet, bless them. And then I did a 6-month volunteering program with Birmingham Children's Hospital. And
Wow.
that was, I didn't know that existed, to be fair. I applied for it by accident. But, it basically involved working 3 hours a day, so it's only 1 day every week. And I did that alongside college, so I did it every Saturday for 3 hours. And because it's 6 months, they split it into 2 months each. So in 2 months you do one ward, in another 2 months you do another ward, and in another 2 months you do another ward. So in that I did a renal ward, a cardiac ward, and a ward that dealt with like spine and stuff like that. And the role like was basically to help with like food rounds and cleaning and like interacting with the families and the patients. And obviously like the children as well, they came out, like majority of them came out from like recent surgeries, and like some of them have come off with dialysis, and they are like running around like crazy, which I don't understand how they do. Like
Just bouncing back.
yeah, I don't understand how they do that. Like bless them, they're really, really strong compared to like ourselves. I'm pretty sure if I was to have a surgery, I'd just be like smack down on the bed. I wouldn't get up unless I really wanted to. But yeah, like experiences like that is really good, and I'm pretty sure you can find that volunteering program on their website, and it's easy to manage alongside like college and secondary school as well.
And so that was in Birmingham.
Yeah, that was Birmingham.
Oh, so if there is anyone out there in Birmingham or near Birmingham, that sounds amazing. I don't know how you found the time to do all of that, because that is a lot, but that does sound like incredible work experience that you managed to get there. And it's good to know as well that you said that it doesn't have to be clinical work experience, because I've had quite a few people message me to say they're really struggling with that at the moment because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Hospitals and doctors aren't taking in anyone unnecessarily, and they're really struggling. So it doesn't have to be clinical, like you said, it's just developing a range of skills. Are there any books that you think might be quite useful? So I'm thinking now that quite a few people are maybe writing their UCAS applications and personal statements, and thinking about potentially interviews and what to say in those. It's quite often to show you've got an interest from reading books. Are there any in particular that you've read or that you know of that you thought might be good?
There was one by Lisa Walder. I forgot what the book name was again now. It's been a while since I've read it, because obviously we have construction in the house, as you can hear. And like I put my books and stuff away, but I'm pretty sure there was one by Lisa Walder which is really good that I read. And there was another one as well. I'll have to find them and I'll comment them or something like that. But I literally,
do you know what? Yeah, that'd be really good. If you just add it in the comments to this IGTV, then anyone can come back and have a look at that. That'd be really good. So thinking now about the actual career itself, what was it that made you want to train to become a paramedic? Because it sounds exciting, but it sounds petrifying to me as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. So it's like the environment's always changing. So like I don't want to be in an environment like with nursing, for instance. Like I like nursing, but like I don't want to be in an environment where I'm constantly stuck in a specific place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like in an office job or something like that. With the paramedic course, obviously, unlike when you're working as a student paramedic, you go to like different houses, you can go on like fields and stuff like that. You can go to like nearby canals, and like you can go from here to like from Erding to like Warwick, places like that. And like I just love like ever changing environment, especially when there's like a sunrise or sunset when we're on shift as well, which is really nice. And then there's like meeting different people as well, so you meet like different people from different cultures and religions, and people who have traveled around the world, and people who have been alive since the war, stuff like that.
Wow.
And it's crazy. It's really interesting as well, like with people have their own different stories and stuff like that, which is really nice to listen to. And then there's also the aspects of like so like my religion is Islam. So like we have like the belief that obviously we don't know like when we're going to die and stuff like that, and everything's sort of written out, if that makes sense. And like because of the fact that we don't know like when we're going to pass away or like how we're going to pass away and stuff, there's like the whole aspect of trying to make a difference and a positive impact in people's lives before passing away. So you sort of leave that imprint before you leave, if that makes sense. And then there's that whole idea of if you save one life, it's like this, it's like you saved the whole of mankind. So it's there's a whole sort of deep aspect into that. My point of view.
That's such an amazing sentiment as well. And all of that, I often hear students say, I want to do medicine for those reasons, but everything you've just said is what I often hear people saying, and medicine isn't always the most appropriate route for people. So if you are really keen on helping people, you're also interested in the science of biology, having a day that's always different, then that sounds amazing. And also, I love how positive you were about the fact that you said you can see these sunsets, sunrises, as a really optimistic way of saying you do incredibly long shifts, that you are awake from dawn till dusk. That's a very, very cup half full mentality there. So that's probably what would be perfect for you. So what would you say is like your typical, I don't know if you have a typical day or a typical week, but what is your like typical day like?
So in terms of a typical day without any uni or placement, it's just sitting at home with my family. So like I have a big family, so it's just us. Like we watch like movies, play games. So, like I have like younger siblings, and I'm the oldest of the rest of them. So it's like we're just playing games. We literally bought like walkie-talkies the other day as well. So we just like talking to each other through the walkie-talkies throughout the whole house. I try and find the opportunity to do some revision and stuff as well. And then if it's like a uni day, so that depends, because obviously before COVID we had to go in for lectures, and obviously now with COVID we're at home, which is really difficult. But yeah, we dedicate our time to lectures and stuff online. And that just involves getting up around 9-10 o'clock in the morning, having a cup of tea, going through different lectures, doing some pre-reading as well before the actual lecture, so we have some idea of what we're actually doing. And when it's actually shift days, then that depends on what time the shifts are. So sometimes it can be like 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening.
Wow.
It can be like, I like 11:11, so 11 a.m. to 11 in the night, so you basically have that time to sort of sleep and then go back to sleep when you come back. But with that, it's just what I do is prepare everything the day before. So I prepare it a few hours before I go to sleep. I get my uniform out, have it ironed, get all the foods and stuff that I want, all the different snacks. I look through my pad, see so like we have this pad that has like specific skills for a specific year. So I look through that and see what skills I want to go over if I get the opportunity. I go through like specific skills as well. So like with IO, which is where you drill a needle into the bone if you can't get any IV access. So with stuff like that, I try and like look up like the insertion sites and contraindications and stuff like that. So I have that prior knowledge. So like it's like going through something you've learned before, sort of thing. And Yeah, it's just I obviously don't drive as well, so I have to figure out whether I would take the bus or I take a taxi or I have my dad drop me off. It's a bit of a hectic
Full on. So you're basically getting a degree, but also doing a job at the same time, balancing it all, and just wherever you can, finding in extra study, extra eating. And I
Yeah,
saw on your Instagram stories this week when it's been so hot, just how hot it was getting in the ambulance
it was.
and
Yeah,
having to be in your uniform as well. Oh my gosh, that must have been tough.
it was.
But thankfully, it's getting cooler now.
It is. Yeah.
So what's a piece of advice, if you could go back to talk to 17-year-old you, what advice would you give yourself now?
That if I'm so like when I was in like secondary school, I struggled like really bad to the point where I would cry about how much I was struggling because I didn't think I would, especially with maths. So to myself, I'd say, you know, keep trying, and because at that point I felt like I was going to fail. So I took home over like 200 test papers and mark schemes. I went to school before and after school for extra sessions. And like, I wouldn't say think about how bad you're struggling now because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. Like especially with this year as well, halfway through second year, I thought, okay, now I don't think I'm going to be able to handle like that extra pressure because of COVID. And the increased workload that we had, but I'm so happy that I actually stayed determined and sort of had faith in myself and actually stayed on the course because I got signed off a few days ago as well, and I didn't think that would happen. So to myself and any other 17-year-olds, I'd say that obviously have faith in yourself, make the effort, and push yourself, not too much to the point where you like sort of break down, but enough to make a form of progression. And obviously seek help from your teachers and tutors, even your peers if you want, from like group chats and stuff. And yeah, just have that form of support and just keep going, and because you know you never know what's going to happen. You're going to shock yourself at the end of it, because I mean I shocked myself.
Yeah, and I would imagine that there's a lot of people feeling that way. Normally there is anyway, but like you said, after this pandemic, I'm sure there's lots of people who are really, really feeling like that, like they're struggling, like it's too much, they're not going to be able to cope. Like you said, just keep going. Failure happens, but you pick yourself up and carry on and just ask for help because everyone's feeling that way. So yeah, that's really, really good advice to give to yourself in hindsight, but also just to think about going forwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we get to the little fun bit, the and finally section. And some of these questions I hid from you, I'm afraid, so I could see your true reaction to them. The one I did let you know that I was going to ask though was, what is your guilty pleasure?
That actually took me like 2 days to think about, because I don't really have like a guilty pleasure, to be fair. I mean, when I listen to like new songs or something like that, I could listen to it for like a week, and then until I get bored of it. I'll be blasting it throughout the whole house, to the point where everyone else would get annoyed as well. Especially when it comes back on the radio as well, I'll be like, oh, that's my song, that is. Yeah, I don't really think I have. I don't really think I have a guilty pleasure, to be fair. Because I'm always pretty like occupied anyway, so I don't really. Yeah.
What about your snacks? Are your snacks all healthy, or are they not so healthy?
Not so healthy.
Okay, so we'll say that's your guilty pleasure, some high sugar, high fat snacks maybe.
I always eat like noodles, like ramen noodles all the time, especially.
Yum. Very, very tasty. I suppose easy to take with you, so it makes sense. Okay, so the ones that I didn't pre-warn you about is the this or that. So it's very quick answers, and there's only a few here, but we'll start with biology or chemistry.
Biology.
Obviously, correct answer to that one. Math skills or practical skills?
Practical skills, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd go that way as well.
Yeah.
You've already answered this one, but anyway, I'm throwing it in there. Plant or animal biology?
Animals. I can't do plants.
Now this one's very important. Marvel or DC Comics?
Marvel.
Obviously, yes. And lastly, burger or pizza?
burger. I don't like pizza.
What?
Yeah, I don't like pizza. I don't know why.
Wow, okay. Well, there we have it. Burger over pizza. Right, so that's the end of my questions, but I have had quite a few come in from people on Instagram. And if anyone does have any other questions, you can type them in, and I'll try and make sure we don't lose them as the screen goes up. But I had one person asked, what's the hardest part of being a student paramedic? And I think they're actually referring to like the shift days. So when you are on shift, what's the hardest part?
I think it's like, so like, because in the course there's like a lot of sort of workload, if that makes sense. So like in anatomy and physiology, you have a lot to sort of remember, and the hard part of that is sort of adapting it to the actual job that you're going to. So trying to explain to your mentor why this patient is presenting that the way they are, because my memory myself, I only remember things for like a week and then I forget it.
Yeah.
So it's the hard part of actually trying to recall information like that and then sort of explaining it to my mentor and showing that I sort of understand what's going on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And in the same way as well, when we learn about drugs and stuff as well, we learn about how the drug is sort of absorbed and excreted and stuff in the body. And on placement, you're sort of expected to explain to the patient, okay, so this drug will do this and this drug will do this, and there's obviously these side effects that you should be aware of. Are you happy for me to administer these drugs for you? Obviously for not right now, that's improved a lot compared to before, because before I couldn't sort of remember what these drugs sort of did, and obviously now I can go to patients and say, okay, I'm going to administer GTN, and that this is basically a vasodilator that dilates the blood vessels and with sort of cardiac related issues. I can do that now compared to before. So before that was a struggle for me in terms of explaining it. And then there's also the aspect of when you go to like sort of the bigger cases. So like I went to an RTC once, and that was my first sort of big RTC, which is a road traffic collision. So
I was going to say, what's an RTC? There we go, road traffic collision.
Yeah, so a car accident. And in that situation, I found it really daunting in the fact that like the paramedics and the fire crew and police, they all know what they're doing. And then I'm just standing there like, okay, so let me go through what I've learnt in uni and just think, how do I adapt it to here? And because it was sort of my first situation that I've been in where it's like a multi-agency response, I was very sort of just listening to what people were saying and just doing what I was told, and I didn't really talk as much unless I was asked a question or I was doing like a patient assessment of some sort. So I find that is a really stressful aspect of being a student, because you don't have that sort of level of not knowledge or training, but exposure in a sense. So obviously the paramedics and stuff have had multiple exposures to stuff like this, and as students we don't have a lot of this at all, especially when you're doing the uni route where you have as much exposure compared to the apprenticeship route. So I think that would be like a hard sort of thing to come across as a student.
Yeah, definitely. And then someone else asked, what's been the biggest surprise you encountered when you started the course? So biggest surprise?
To be fair, when I came onto the course, I thought that it'd be like people are similar to my age when I came onto the course, because I thought, okay, uni course, so people must have come from college and stuff. But when I went onto the course and I found that so many people, that there's different ranges of ages. So I started, I was 18, so I'm 20 now, but I was 18 before. And everyone else is like 30, within their 30s, 40s, some in their 20s. Like everyone's ages are very different. And I found that really interesting, because I don't know why in my mindset I thought, okay, everyone's going to be like a similar age now. We're all going to be like 18, 20 years old. But yeah, that sort of shocked me. And then like when I first started, I didn't think of the aspect of like, okay, so is there gonna be any sort of like Muslim people or stuff like that? When I first started the course, it was only myself and I think another 2 people who were like Muslim, and everyone else was different. But obviously that didn't faze me. I wasn't fazed by that at all. And I actually felt privileged in a way as well, because you can obviously give the interpretation and aspect of like from people from your religion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you can have discussions around, oh, why do you wear a headscarf? And like one person asked me as well, like when you come across female patients and you want to put on like ECG dots, because we obviously have the 2 dots up here and then underneath the left breast. So they're like, okay, so how do you ask a female patient, oh, is it all right if we put on some dots for you? And like, how would you ask that in a respectful sort of way? And I found that someone to ask me, because it shows that obviously they care about their patients when they go to those types of patients. And I was basically like, okay, so you just tell them what you're going to do, tell them where the ECG dots are going to go, how you're going to get to their chest, and whether it's all right with the male colleagues being in the room and stuff like that. And yeah, I found that very enlightening in a way, because I could sort of give the point of view of a patient and how I would like to be treated. So yeah, I found that quite good as well in that, from that point of view.
Awesome. And now there's a couple of questions here that I think we've actually already answered. So another one was, were you able to have a part-time job whilst at uni to finance being at uni?
I don't actually have a part-time job. I know some people who do have part-time jobs, and it does seem that they're able to cope with it. Like one of my friends is doing patient transport, and then they're working for the ambulance service through uni as well. But with myself, I don't think I could handle it, because I don't handle that much pressure that well. So obviously there's people that can handle pressure well, and there's people that can't handle, like, to a specific point. So I feel from my point of view, so I'm not speaking for everyone else, but from my point of view, there's like a massive workload, and you're expected to work 12-hour shifts, which is around either 2 or 3 shifts a week. So I don't think that was a good idea for me to get a part-time job, because then I wouldn't be able to juggle that together.
Yeah, I think I'd be the same, because it does sound quite full on having all of the studies plus those long shifts. I think for your particular course, I don't think I would have managed it either. Okay, so the last one I've got, unless anyone else submits any as we go through, is, do you have, thinking back to when you did your A-levels, or even now doing your studies when you're trying to remember all that content, do you have any tips or tricks that you use to help you remember all of that information?
So in college, what I used was something called flashcards on the App Store, and I also used Quizlet, and that's like a form of scrap paper testing. So that's what I also used to use. So with like scrap paper testing, what I used to do was use the textbook, write out simple notes, try and remember the notes, and then I'll try and write them out again. And when I write them out, I write it in black, and anything that I missed out, I write in a different color. And I keep doing that until to the point where maybe there's just 1 or 2 mistakes or something that I missed out. And that would help with like recall and stuff. And that's the same with like Quizlet and then the flashcards app as well, because with those you can sort of write out your own answers and questions. And if you understand it, you can just tick it, and that would be off of your sort of flashcard list. So you'd have a learned flashcards, and you'd have ones that you didn't answer correctly. So when you keep going through that, it's just a literally like recall basically that helps with that. And to sort of make me feel like I've done something, I tend to write out my notes as well. So like I do it neatly and do some diagrams and stuff like that, because then if I don't have that, I feel as though I haven't really done anything. So so yeah, that's my sort of way, where I do diagrams and mind maps, and I use Quizlet and scrap paper testing to sort of do it, because I'm a visual learner. I write things down. I do pretty much everything, so I don't have a specific way of learning.
But basically you just described loads of active recall techniques, which is the best way really, just making sure you are testing yourself. Right, so that's it from all the questions that I've got. I don't think we've had any others come through that I've seen. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you for being put on the spot, answering those questions at the end, but also all of the other questions. I've really loved it. I've loved hearing all about your course, how you got there, and just how it's helped you to actually flourish and develop as a person also. And I really hope that it's helped some of the people that are watching, just finding out about alternative options that aren't as well known, what you can actually do with a biology A-level. So thank you so much. I hope you get to have a bit of rest now, because I'm sure you've got another busy day tomorrow or coming up next week. So enjoy the rest of your evening and a big relaxation.
Thank you so much for having me. What's that? Is that uni course considered equal to apprenticeship?
Oh, one little question come in.
Yeah. So with that question, through the uni route, when you finish with the degree, you come out as a qualified paramedic. And I think that was band 5 paramedic. Through apprenticeship, it's the same way, but you go from student paramedic to technician to paramedic. But I'm pretty sure they're both 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just with the apprenticeship, you get more sort of exposure on the road. You get paid as you learn. You get to drive the ambulances, whereas with uni route, you don't get to drive the ambulances and you don't get paid. You do get maintenance loan and a learning support fund, but you don't get paid for actually working. That's pretty much it.
So I suppose it's whichever route suits you better then.
Yeah. So if you want to go for academic route, then that'd be uni. And if you want to go for a more practical route, then go for apprenticeship.
Well, thank you so much and enjoy your evening.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry for the background noises.
Don't worry about it. I think we can hear, that's fine. And yeah, we'll just add your book into the comments once this goes up onto my Instagram.
Yeah, I'll add it.
Well, thanks everyone who came to watch as well, or if you're watching this later on, and bye from us. Bye.